In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how I created this custom MacBook cover design. So let's get started. I already have Photoshop open, so I want to click on Create New Document and we want to click on Print. I've already measured my MacBook cover and an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper will work perfect. I've set my file up for 300 dpi and CMYK color profile. I've also already put on my desktop a folder full of images that I'd like to use, so they're easy to find. The first thing I'm going to do is browse and insert an embedded photograph within my document. So as you can see, I have a few pictures here that I've selected that I'd like to include. I really love this landscape photograph that I took in Arizona, so I want to use that. Again, there are some design guidelines that you need to follow when creating your MacBook cover art. Once you place an image, it comes in Photoshop with a transformation box around it. These little handles allow you to resize your image, rotate it, and move it as you wish. Once you get it where you like it, you can click the check mark in the options bar or simply click on a different tool. You have to be careful to not increase the size of your photo too much. You could lessen the quality of the image. What I'm doing now is using my rulers that I already have up and creating myself a guide that shows me where the middle of the document is. This will help me as I start placing other items within my design. What I just did was click on the image layer and I changed it to a rasterized image so I don't have to worry about placed images being lost. Now I am grabbing the marquee selection tool and drawing a shape to fill in the top section of my design. One of the design criteria is that you include your name in your design and make it at least 2 inches tall. So what I'm doing here is creating a color box, and I grabbed the eyedropper tool and I'm going to click on one of these shades within the sky and try to find a really good color to fill in this top section where I plan on putting my name. So I decided to make it blue at first, but as you'll see throughout my design, I evolve and change what color it is. Next, I'm going to grab my text tool and draw a text box in the top section of my design. I'm changing the color of the text to be white, so it will show up on top of the blue shape. And now I'm going through my fonts, trying to pick one that I like. You get quite a few fonts to start out with in Photoshop, but you have access to add many more through your Creative Cloud. Now I'm playing with the size of the font, and if I want to put the word Mrs. in there or just Collins, I'm trying to decide if I want to put my initials on it. This took me a while, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this process for you. After I got my name how I liked it, I decided to change the color of the background to orange to really make it pop. This is a really good time to go ahead and save your document. Remember, Photoshop does not auto-save, and it's important that you save your file after you do anything major or you spend a lot of time on it. While you're working, it's okay to save your photo or your project on your desktop, but make sure you eventually move it to your Google Drive for safekeeping long term. It's important along the way that you save your layered Photoshop file in case when we get to printing your final image, we need to make some changes. What you'll turn in Echo will be a flattened JPEG image or a PDF. Either of those we can print from and will work just fine. So after looking at this for a while, I decided to mess around with my name a little bit more. What I'm doing is I've duplicated the layer, I've made the word Collins smaller, and I've decided to put Mrs. back in there, as well as make and figure out a way to incorporate my initials too. Again, this took me a while. thinking about the design and how it would read. What I ended up doing was making both Mrs. and my initials smaller. I rotated them and put them towards the end and the beginning of the word Collins. Remember, one of the design parameters of this assignment is that you include your name on your design at least 2 inches tall or about 2 inches tall. Please use your first name or your last name or your nickname that you go by at school. Initials are okay too. What is not okay is to use a nickname that you don't go by at school. I decided to use my last name because that's what most of you call me, and I have really cool initials, so I wanted to include them as well. I'm finished using my guides, so I'm going to go to View and click on Clear Guides so they're no longer in the way of me seeing my design. The next parameter or design guideline that I'm going to include is an adjective. One of the things I ask you to add in your design is one adjective that describes who you are in a positive way. I was thinking about putting the word creative, but I decided to go with the word adventurous instead, because the photos I've decided to include in my design are of me out and about adventuring in the world. You can pick your adjective. If you need help deciding what word to pick, please let me know and we can brainstorm together. Now I'm trying to figure out where to put this adjective, and I move it around and I try it in several different places on the screen. But I decided I want to go ahead and add in a few other pictures in this design. One of the other design parameters is that you include a selfie of you without your mask on. So we need to make room to put a self-portrait on our design somewhere. Remember, I said your portrait can be photorealistic, it can be illustrated, drawn, you can use filters on it, you can make it however you want and show your own style. So right now, I'm just going to put the word adventurous kind of off to the side, and I have some work to do incorporating my self-portrait. To place a picture, I need to go File, Place Embedded. I'm going to search and find the self-portrait that I'd like to use within this composition. I already have it saved in a folder, so it's easy for me to find. I click Place. Once again, it comes in Photoshop with that transformation square on it. I've decided that I need to bring over a guide in my design to help me line up where I want to put my self-portrait and my third and final image. So I went over to the ruler with my move tool and just clicked and brought over one guide. Now I'm using my move tool to move and arrange my layers and my two photographs around a little bit to try to figure out how I want to create this. What I just did was clicked on my self-portrait and made that layer rasterized so I could manipulate it more without dealing with linked photos. I went to Edit, Free Transform, and now I'm resizing my photograph to fit within the boundaries of that guide that I just created. Now I'm going to place another photograph. I went to File, Place Embedded. I'm going to grab one of my waterfall pictures. I've decided to use it instead of my selfie at a waterfall. I'm going to click Place. Again, when an image comes into Photoshop, it has this transformation box on it already. You can go ahead and resize it to what you want. It tries to constrain proportions if you hold down the Shift key or not. You want to change it to the size you want, and then you can click the check mark in the options bar or simply grab another tool. So I've decided not to include the selfie of me at the waterfall, so I've deleted it out of my composition. And now I'm moving in this image of the 3 waterfalls together that I took earlier this summer in Arkansas. So I need to resize my photograph a little bit. So I went to Edit, free transform, and I'm trying to see how to fill the space with my selfie and the waterfall images while using my guide. So I'm going to fast forward this process. It took me a little while to kind of get everything in the right place.